Welcome to Let's Get Into It. I am your host, Sherelle Higgins. Let's Get Into It is a safe space to have real conversations that are meant to uplift, encourage, and let you know you are not the only one dealing with life. Each episode of Let's Get Into It is designed to provide illuminating and thought-provoking information on a variety of topics. In fact, no topic is off limit. If you would like to see a topic discussed, please feel free to make a recommendation. My special guest and I will have a great time discussing topics that the mainstream media wouldn't dare discuss. We will bring these conversations to you with an open mind, respectfully, from different perspectives, and most importantly, with love. Thank you for joining me and my special guest. Now, let's get into it. Hello, everyone. Thank you all for joining me. This is Let's Get Into It. I am your host, Sherelle Higgins. And today I want to kick off this episode talking just a little bit about making sure we are taking care of our minds, our bodies, and our spirits during this time. It is so important for us to sometimes step back, step away, and really assess the blessings that we have in our lives, because not everyone has the same blessings that we have. And in order for us to be able to fully appreciate the blessings, it is important for us to really take care of ourselves. And sometimes that means we have to step away from people. Sometimes it means we have to step away from things. Sometimes it means we have to really reach out in our communities and see how we can help others so that we can even appreciate more what we do have and not complain about the things that we don't have. It is just so important that we move in that direction. And so today, what I wanted to talk about is a nonprofit called Emerald City. And my guest is having some technical difficulties. And so I am waiting for them to let me know when they're in the waiting room. And then I am going to bring on my guest. I am checking to see what's going on her end. But you know, in order for us to take care of ourselves, sometimes we have to really either a listen to someone else's story and then realize that we don't have it that bad, or we need to go out into our communities and help others that are less fortunate. And so this is a conversation that is needed, particularly in this political climate that we live in. And I am praying that people will not end up in this particular situation that we're going to talk about today due to the recklessness of the administration. And so again, my guest is having some technical difficulties. Of course, when we did the trial run, it went right through, no problems. And so, sometimes you got to pivot, right? And so we are in a pivoting season. And so we are going to make this work. And we are going to get to the information when my guests come on board. And we are going to continue this podcast tonight with or without the guests if they can get on can't get on. However, yes, we must learn to count our blessings. Thank you for that. Because somebody always has it worse than we do. I don't care what your situation is, someone always has it worse than what you have it. And one of the things I've been doing, particularly with federal employees, for those who have reached out to ask for some one-on-one attention, one of the things I have shared with them is it's important for you to not absorb more than you need to in the situation and look at your own particular situation and see how you can come out on top. right? And so while you have no control over what's going to happen to you or to your job, what you do have control over is how you react to that and your outlook on it, right? So one particular federal employee, I was telling them that, you have to count your blessings. Because you are not, oh, my guest is here. You are not similarly situated as others may be. And so you have to really look at that and make sure that you are not absorbing other people's energies and vibes because they may not be similarly situated. I've had that conversation with multiple federal employees. And so our outlook, yes, Sharon, our outlook is so important for a healthy mindset. And so, with that being said, I want to bring on Dewana Roby because I think this is a very important conversation. And it's important for us to not only think that it can happen to other people, it can happen to any of us and all of us. And so we want to really kind of, talk through this topic of homelessness. And so I am going to bring Dewana Roby, my older cousin, to the stage.
Older
You,
as in what? In minutes? Look.
yes. Yeah.
Hi.
Hi. Thank you. Welcome. Welcome. Um, so, so Dewana, let's talk about Emerald City. First, how did you come up with that name?
Well, Emerald City was birthed. Let me go back to the purpose of Emerald City, and then the name came later. I'm a Sunday school teacher. So I was teaching in Luke in my Sunday school class, and it said, go out into the world and compel our people to come in through love. And
Mm,
at this point, I wasn't really familiar with homelessness in the city of Chicago. And a friend of mine directed me to Laura Wacker. She was like, it's a lot of homeless people down there. You should go and see them. And so I went, and I was like totally mesmerized by what I saw and
mm,
shocked at the same time.
mm-hmm.
So that was the initial birth of Emerald City. It came out of a scripture in my Sunday school class, and it was named Emerald City because everybody has a dream. Everybody's trying to get somewhere. And if you remember The Wizard of Oz,
Mm-hmm.
Dorothy, the Scarecrow, the Cowardly Lion, they all had a purpose to get to Emerald City. And they felt like once they arrived to Emerald City, that all of their dreams would come true. So
Mm.
Emerald City is where we bring a dream to you.
Oh, come
So
on.
basically what happens is, and that's what, we started doing having Thanksgiving on the streets of Lower Racker Drive. We started bringing them new clothing, new items to bring some of their dreams, to fruition. Because what happened is, just like when you get something new, it make you feel good. When you go buy those shoes, them new shoes or that new outfit that you look good in, you know what I'm talking about? You feel good about that, right?
Right.
So my purpose in doing what I was doing for them is to make them feel valued, to make them feel
Mm.
good about themselves. I didn't necessarily want to give them things that was used that you didn't want anymore. Because if you don't want it, don't nobody else want it. So I
Right.
wanted to give them items that made them feel good and feel some worth about themselves. So Emerald City was birthed from a scripture in my Sunday school class. And the name Emerald City came from the Wizard of Oz. So I kind of intertwined those two to make um, people feel like, I'm going to Oz. So we bring Oz to you. So that's how Emerald City came about.
Okay. And so what's the overall mission for Emerald City?
So initially, so, our mission and our purpose kind of crossed. The more I was out there, so I just wanted to feed people initially I just wanted to give them food and keep going, but they arrested me spiritually.
Mm,
I wanted to engage with them. I wanted to get to know their names. I wanted to have a conversation with them. I wanted to hug them
mm,
because, just like Jesus, I'm not saying that I'm Jesus by no stretch of the imagination, but it's in me. He compelled me to want to do more than just give them a piece of bread and keep walking.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted me to actually have a conversation with them and understand them, because everybody that is homeless doesn't mean that they're homeless in their mind. That
Right.
might be a situational kind of situation. So they
Mm-hmm.
might be in a situation, and everybody's situation is different. I come to learn. They may be in a situation that they are don't have a roof over their head at the time, but at
Mm-hmm.
the end of the day, they are not mentally homeless. They might be spiritual, I mean, physically homeless, but they are not spiritually homeless.
Got it.
So,
Got
and
it.
I would, yeah,
And so the mission and the purpose, it intersected with one another. And so when that happened, and you said initially it started out with wanting to feed people, what was birthed at that intersection?
I say that again. What was what?
What was birthed from that intersection of the mission and the purpose?
So, what ended up happening was once I started talking to people, then it kind of grew into extending more resources as it relates to, helping them find housing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, some of them are habitual homeless people
Mm-hmm.
that they were there, they wanted to be there, and they are not ready for housing, a situation
Mm-hmm.
for housing. So let me just kind of think about what I've experienced in homelessness, because what really happens is this is very interesting, because even if they got housing, so
Mm-hmm.
I call these repeat offenders of homelessness.
Okay.
If they
Okay.
got housing and I didn't see them for a couple of years or a year or so, then they're right back on the streets, because what happens is, and this is one of the programs that we were trying to implement, is to be able to, partner with them, hold their hand throughout the whole process, because they can get housing, they don't know how to live in housing. So
Okay.
either their housing, situation becomes intolerable to the tenant, I mean to the landlord, and they have to put them out because they bring in all of the garbage on the inside of the house. They don't know how to clean. They don't know how to pay their bills. So they have to be reintroduced into society, into being responsible for paying your bills, for
Mhm.
going to the grocery store, all of these things that they haven't been doing for years, because they've been living on the streets and people been bringing them food, and they haven't been taking baths. They haven't been washing up and brushing their teeth and all of that kind of stuff. So it came from just giving them food to holding their hand, trying to help them get housing. And even with the ones who were getting housing, once they received housing, to maintain and be able to stay in that situation. So
Okay.
we went from feeding to resources to being able to give them other avenues to be able to help them sustain and maintain.
Okay. And so when you first started going down the Lower Wacker Drive,
Hmm.
I know you said it was birthed out of scripture, which I know what you're getting ready to say to this question,
Right.
but I have to ask the question because oftentimes we think that two things can coincide, right? And
Hmm.
so were you ever afraid to go down and interact?
Was I ever afraid?
Yes, to go down there and interact with the homeless population.
Absolutely not. So let me tell you why. People were afraid or asked me, well, are you afraid? My sister was like, girl, you shouldn't be going down there and all of this by yourself. Because I was going by when I first started going, I was going at night. And my people started running out. Everybody wanted to go. And it was like, well, I ain't gonna be able to go this day. But I'm like, my people are hungry. I got to go feed them. So I started going by myself. And I promise you, I did not have the spirit of fear, because God doesn't give us the spirit of fear. He gives us the spirit of power. But in that, I never felt like I was ever down there by myself. He was
Okay.
always with me, because I was doing his mission and his purpose. And they know me. So, everybody down there, even when it was like clusters of men in a group, I would be down there by myself and they'd be like, get up off of her, because I pull my car up and pop my trunk up. And once they crowd over you, so they were
Mhm.
crowding around my car, they was like, get back, get. So, I had my security in them. So I
Right.
never was afraid.
So the Sharon said, please explain, which is a good question. What Lower Wacker Drive looks like and where is it located, for people who have either A, been to Chicago, or B, have not been to Chicago.
Okay, so for those people who have not been to Chicago, Lower Wacker Drive is in the downtown area, where there is high rises upstairs. So they call it Lower Wacker because it's under the ground level. It's dark, it's dingy, and it's dirty. If you
Mm.
could think about a location that I can visually tell you, it's on if you go to Emerald City Services on Facebook, you'll see some of the pictures. But if you can remember in what was the name of that movie? New Jack City.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's real old. But that's
Hey.
what I think about because it was always dark on the streets and it
Mhm.
wasn't that filmed in Chicago?
No, that was in New York.
Oh, well,
I thought.
New York streets is filthy, and so Lower Wacker Drive kind of looks like that. And they have tents and camps, and they kind of like cluster together and protect each other. It's a dark, dirty, dingy area.
Okay. And how do you, well, I'm gonna come back to that question. So are there any children down there on Lower Record Drive, or is it typically adults?
Only adults. I have not seen. Well, so when we go down and we set up camp basically. When we go down there and set up camp, so I kind of, have incentives for my homeless people because they are not just on Lower Wacker Drive.
Right.
They are everywhere in the city of Chicago. So I
Mhm.
have a group of people who I'll give some flyers to because I don't want to go around to all of the locations. I want them to come to us. That's the
Mhm.
incentive. If you bring this car back, everybody's going to get $1 for the card that they bring back.
Okay.
So that's incentive. And I put my initials on this because, they try and copy it and all this kind of stuff. But I
Right.
put my initials on it. And that's the incentive for them to bring the card back to be able to get a gift card. So you
Mm.
may even get cash. So, but at the end of the day, those are areas where we kind of like give them a job for the day, basically.
Okay.
So,
That
and
makes sense.
they'll come and then they'll come to the area where we're at and we serve them. We give them food, we give them clothing, shoes, and some of the needs, even bus cards.
And so what is something interesting that you've learned about that population of people that most people would not know?
Wow, that's a good question because it's interesting. I've experienced educated people, I've experienced uneducated people, I've experienced people who are down there due to mental illness. I've
Mhm.
experienced people who are down there by choice. I've experienced people who are down there because of drugs. So it's
Mm.
a plethora of reasons why we can be homeless.
Mhm.
But the other thing is, now this is going to be interesting because I think homelessness is a mindset
Mhm.
because you can have a roof over your head and you could still be homeless in your mind.
Mm.
So where they can be on the streets of Lower Wacker Drive and be comfortable. I met this guy. He had just recently got out of jail. And he was clean cut. His hair was cut. He was clean. He had his little cooler to keep his food in because rodents are down there to keep the rats from getting to his food. And he wasn't going to take, and this is what I can appreciate about a lot of homeless people. They're not going to take as much as they can use. So if I only could eat one sandwich, I only want one sandwich. I'm not going to hoard and take 15 for later
Mm.
because you have nowhere to store it.
Mhm.
So he had just recently got out of jail. And I asked him, I would try to conversate with everybody I come in contact with. He had just recently gotten out of jail. And I asked him why he was down there. and he said he was tired of being in the four walls. He
Mm,
felt free.
okay.
So he was free on the streets of Chicago, but at the same time, he had a job. So, I mean, people think about a homeless person as a worthless person. They don't have nothing, they ain't doing nothing, they ain't trying to do nothing. And that's so very untrue. Some
Mm,
people are homeless by choice,
mm-hmm.
and some are homeless by situation. So he was homeless by choice because he could have went to, typically when you get out of jail, I don't know about any other city, but in the city of Chicago, they'll give you like a housing situation where you have to, like a probationary period.
Mhm.
You have to stay, like, and that's a choice. You don't have to stay there, but you can stay there until you get on your feet. He chose
Mhm.
to sleep on the streets of Chicago until he got on his feet.
Oh,
So I
wow.
don't think that necessarily it's a choice to be homeless, but it's a choice to stay homeless.
Okay.
And then when I think for drug addicts, that's another whole ballpark
Mhm.
because there's because we have programs. I mean, I have partnered with I mean, the things that I've seen is sad because I've actually seen people with needles in their neck,
Mm.
nodding out. I mean, I've seen a lot. It's a ministry called the Night Ministry. And they was talking to me one night. We were down there and they was like, well, we're going to give you this drug. So if you see them getting ready to OD, you just give it to them or you stick it to. I'm like, I'm not going to be able to do that. So they was like, well, it's a matter of life and death. And I just prayed, Lord, please don't let me be in that situation where I have to do that because I would probably freak out. But
Yeah.
I forget, Norcan.
No, yeah, nor can.
So I did take the drug and praise the Lord. I never had to use it. But even in those situations, I mean, I feel like somebody has to do it, number one. But at the end of the day, I feel like they're human. And I think we kind of dehumanize them because we're not in that situation.
Right.
But the more that experience, try to experience what you think that they're experiencing, the more compassion that you have for them.
Okay, so that leads right into the question then. So what have you learned about yourself through this?
Number one, I know this might be a little selfish, but I don't never want to be homeless. Let me just say that.
I'm
I
with
would
you.
never, it's just like when you learn that the fire is hot, you never put yourself in a situation that you might have to be homeless.
Mhm.
Um, I've also learned that homeless people want to be loved too.
Mm.
And I think for me, I look at them the same way Christ looked at us. We all messed up. We all jacked up. And if he can look at us like that, we can look at them the same way and extend love. I mean,
Mhm.
I never felt like, they were too dirty for me to hug. I never felt like I couldn't touch them. And, after I leave, I just go put my hand sanitizer on, wash, so at the end of the day, I don't want them to feel any fear about me connecting with them because
Okay.
you never know. I mean, we're just all a step away from being homeless, especially in this economy with your president.
Oh yeah, that was part of my kickoff. Talking about y'all president. So, how do you take care of your emotional and mental health in this line of work? Because I can
well,
imagine that after a while it gets, gets heavy.
well, let me just say this. If anybody has ever experienced social workers who work with the community and public service workers, they are the meanest people in the world.
Mm,
The way that and I've seen them talk to them down or just reject them because I know you could get a lot more with honey than you can with vinegar.
mm-hmm,
And a gentle conversation is way better than a harsh one.
mm-hmm,
So for me, initially I couldn't sleep in the big. So I've been since 2009. I've been going to Lord Wacker Drive, extending love to homelessness. I mean, today I have one particular person that I have her come to the church and wash tablecloths, and I pay her. So I try to give them things to do where they can earn some money.
mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, initially when I went down there and this was new to me, I was grieved. I couldn't sleep. When it got cold outside, I was
No,
I
we gonna
I
talk
took
about that.
everything out my house and gave it to them. I took my kids' coats, the blankets, everything that I could think of. I'm like, you only need one coat. They don't have nothing. So it was a burden that God had given me that I
Mm,
could not rest until I did something about it. So now, today, I don't have that same burden because I'm actively involved. I'm doing something and I'm not as bothered the way I was then. And we have more resources. Now they're trying to get a lot of um, homeless people off the streets.
mhm,
It may be a temporary situation, but like I was saying, some people want to be homeless because they have more control and power over their situation,
mhm,
opposed to being dictated what they can do and what they can't do. And
mm.
people just don't want to follow the rules. I understand that piece of it too. And there's always a higher authority in every situation. But they feel like they can kind of control their narrative being on the streets of Chicago.
When I was working many years ago, um, I was doing a job fair for homeless veterans. And I met this lady, and she and I started talking. And she started telling me about her situation. And she was saying that I will never forget this lady. She was saying that she was homeless by choice. Just by what you're saying is she don't want to be responsible for nothing. She said, she had kids and her kids has tried to get her to come live with them, but she don't
Mhm.
want to be a burden to them. And so she had a car. And so she said she would live basically in her car, but she would never drive her car to the place where she hung out because she didn't
Mm,
want the other homeless people to know that she had a car.
exactly.
And so she said she would like drive her car and park like maybe 4, 5, 6 blocks away and then get out and walk to wherever she hung out. And then the other thing that really stuck with me from this lady was she talked about, so I asked her, I said, well, how do you clean yourself? Because she was still at an age where she would have a menstrual cycle.
Mm,
So I was like, how do you clean yourself? And she said, what's the one place you can go to that's always clean? You can come and go prior, of course, this is way prior to COVID, but you can come and go as you please. It's always clean and you can clean yourself up and nobody will never ask you any questions. And I was like, and then where is that?
mm,
She said, the hospital.
mm.
And so she said at night when she would leave where she would hang out, she would walk to her car and she would drive. Oh, and it was open 24/7, right?
Right.
So she said
Exactly.
she would drive her car to the hospital parking lot. She would sleep in the parking lot. And in the morning, she would get up and go inside the hospital and clean herself up and then go back to where, she would hang out. And I thought that was really interesting because
Yeah,
a part of that is survival mode, right? And
absolutely.
really being able to think through things and problem solve
Mhm.
quickly. Hey, Ron, cousin Ron, you all up in the podcast. And so I already texted him, told him he was all loud. I could hear him.
Look, I text him and said, "I'm on the podcast. Can you be quiet, please?"
Right.
Grandkids. Okay.
So anyway, so yeah, so I mean, you talked a little bit about, like the kind of spectrum of people that's down there. It could be anybody, right? It's no
Yeah.
particular set of people that you can encounter down there. But have you ever gone down there and found out that one of them passed away?
Yes and no.
Okay.
I did find out that one of them passed away, but I wasn't down there when it happened. Praise the Lord. So actually, I know two of them passed away. One was through violence, and the other one was a girl. Now, her story, oh my God, her name was Victoria.
Don't no name, no names.
No, she dead.
It doesn't matter.
So she gone to glory. And I don't know her last name.
Okay.
But she I mean, I just had a passion for her.
Okay.
She told me her story, and she was down there because she actually saw her husband get killed.
Mm.
And she told me to call her mother. So every time I would go down there, she was like, "Can you call my mother? Can you call my mother? Can you call my mother?" And she wasn't a young girl. She was probably like in her late 40s.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, so I used to call her mother, and her mother told me the story. So this was not her mother, it was her mother-in-law.
Oh,
So it
okay.
was the lady who I was calling, her son had gotten killed in front of his wife, which was this girl.
Okay.
And she always used to ask me to call her. And when I called the mother, she used to say, "Is she okay?" And the guy that she was down there with. So eventually I was like, "Well, where is she? Where is she?" He was like, "She in the hospital." Come to find out she had cancer and she passed.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know, well, one thing that I can say is that a doctor's appointment is not on the top of their list.
I'm sure. It's not on top of a lot of people's lists.
Oh
Even
yeah,
people
who got a
who
roof over
have
their head?
and have health insurance and won't
Oh,
go to the
absolutely. So with that being said, it's a myriad of things that can cause them to be homeless, but to keep them in a homelessness situation is situations. I
Mhm.
mean, you talked about veterans, and we have a cousin that's a veteran. And I remember my first encounter with a veteran. He told me, "Well, ask them if they're a veteran." And I was like, "Yeah." He said he a veteran. So he was like, "Well, I want to go with you." Oh my God. It was so impactful because he was able to talk to a veteran in whatever language, man, you need this, you need that. So he was able to help him get off
Mhm.
the streets. And I remember his name vividly. He was helping him get off the street, get housing, and get the resources that he need to connect him directly, because veterans have privileges.
Right.
Just like, Christians have privileges with the Lord. You understand what I'm saying? So veterans have
I don't
privileges.
think that's quite the same, but okay.
Yeah, girl, look, I got an inside line. So
Okay.
an
All
inside,
right.
a direct connect with God. Okay. So the veterans, they don't have to be on this long waiting list to be able to get the resources that they need. And I was so impressed with that. So after that, I started asking, "Are you a veteran? Are you a veteran?" Because at the end of the day, it's like a speedier process to be able to
Mhm.
get the resources that they need and get them off the streets quicker.
Okay. So let's talk about the brutal winters
Mm.
and how in the world are people surviving out there? Are they going to shelters during the coldest days? How are they surviving out in those streets during most of the year when it's winter in Chicago?
Well, I think before COVID, I think that I don't know how they survived in the winters of Chicago, to be honest. I know that they got more resources during COVID and after COVID, but pre-COVID, it was brutally cold. Even, we used to have those warming packs to give them, blankets. One thing that I've learned, if you got three people under a cover, body heat will help you stay warm. So they will be in those kind of clusters where, somebody is next to them. Or on Lower Wacker Drive, they had these big vents because it's a hotel on the upper Wacker Drive, Lower Wacker Drive. They'll have a vent where heat is coming out of it. So they would
Okay.
put their camp up against that wall where the heat is coming out. they was send like warming buses throughout on the brutal cold nights. The city of Chicago will send out some warming buses to let them get on a bus or come and pick them up. And if you go and pick them up, they really don't want to go. They don't want to leave their house because somebody might come and take their stuff. So, it's a lot of different reasons why they would rather stay out there on the cold than get warm. Or, typically it's a maybe about a 5-minute walk from Lower Wacker Drive to a shelter called Pacific Mission Garden, where anybody can come in and get warm. They turn nobody away. So, but some people wouldn't even walk there. So, I've seen people getting frostbitten, because of the cold temperatures in Chicago. And after a while, they can't feel it.
So, on average, just give a guesstimate. How many people are you talking about that could be down there at, just on average?
Ooh. Consistently, I would say maybe, it's hard. Let me just say hundreds. It could be because they're not just on Lower Wacker Drive.
Right.
They're on Lawrence, under any viaducts that you go under the city of Chicago, you might see a tent or a blanket.
And so hold on, let me stop right there because many people don't know that terminology. I learned being on the East Coast.
Okay.
So they call them overpasses, not viaducts. Okay. And so I just wanted to help my audience understand what a viaduct was because they don't use that terminology on the East Coast.
It's an overpass.
Yes, the overpass.
So you're right. I was going to explain, but if they know what an overpass is, we call it viaducts. It's an overpass. So you might find people that, even up north, they had a governor. He's the representative of that little community. And you go and you give everything to him, and he distributes it to everybody that's under there. He keeps out the bad, because in most situations, everything is not going to be good. So you're going to get some people to come over there that shouldn't be there, to antagonize them, to do all of this. So he's like their protector. So they call him the governor of their little area. And, I go over there and I talk to him. And that's how I found out that he was the governor. So when I go up there, I just give him everything and he pass it out to everybody. And he helps anybody who comes over there. But for the most part, they try and keep each other's stuff clean. They try to make sure that nobody is taking their stuff, because in this particular area, they have both sides of the viaduct. So it might be one going east and one going west. And he, protects both sides of the viaduct.
Okay.
So you have to, I don't think that is nobody down there that's really by themselves. It has to be, it's a community.
Okay.
People protecting each other and people, watching your stuff while you go on security. Basically, I'm gonna keep your stuff safe. And when I come back, I need to go, fill out this application or use the bathroom or whatever. Now, one time I went down there and this was really disgusting. They had to go, those 5-gallon tubs, not tubs, barrels, like would you have paint in? So that was their toilet. So they would just sit on it and use it. It was disgusting.
Wow. Yeah.
But at least it wasn't on the ground.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Because then they have to move around. So question is, so you talked about kind of how you got started, but what drew you specifically to this type of nonprofit work? Like, okay, I know the scripture said, go out into the world and do great things. Okay, so, but there's a million things you could have done that would have been great. And so how, like, specifically homelessness?
Well, the Bible says what you have done to the least of them. I mean, that's what drew me. What you have
Okay.
done to the least of them, you have done unto me. And I mean, I think for me, the fact that I have so much compassion for people,
Mm-hmm.
it hurt me to know that people were in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
I felt something, and
Mm-hmm.
9 times out of 10, if something angers you, then you should be proactive in trying to help or fix or do whatever you can do so that
Mm-hmm.
you can be a problem solver and not a part of the problem. So
Mm-hmm.
is when you look at the news and you're like, oh my God, that just really gets on my nerves. So, I'm that person that if something bothers me so much, I don't want to keep talking about how I get on my nerves. I don't want to keep talking about that it's a problem for me. I don't want to keep talking about, somebody else need to do this. What am I doing? So that's what
Mm-hmm.
really kind of, motivated me to just get deeper involved into a nonprofit, because initially I was just going down there all by myself, taking items. And I learned that, well, you know what? I can get more if I become a nonprofit organization.
Okay.
So I could give more resources, and Emerald City Services, we can do this because I have the name behind me. We are a nonprofit. We are trying to help and build up resources to be able to give back to those people who are in need.
Mm.
Because one thing that I've learned, I am one person, and we cannot do anything alone when we want to have a great impact.
Right. Absolutely. Um, so do you find people who self-selected to be unhoused due to the cost of living, although employed? So are you running across people who just simply, they work, but they just can't afford to live somewhere?
I have not, because we have a lot of situations where people are renting rooms. And do you all know what a squatter is on the East Coast? Oh,
Uh-huh.
okay. Hey, we can connect there because we have squatters.
And we got slugs too. Y'all got slugs? Yeah, I ain't got
Look,
no slugs.
I didn't know if you all had another term for them, but
No, I think squatters are pretty universal.
okay, look, I don't know. I thought a Vidoc was too, but it's all good. So a lot of vacant properties, those people in that category that you're talking about, they may be a little more knowledgeable about trying to beat the system, so to speak. And
Mm-hmm.
they will go and take over somebody's property and come up with a fake lease and say, well,
Yeah,
we live here. And it takes a
absolutely.
long time to get somebody out, because
Yes, they just
possession
changed the
is
laws
the
down
law.
in Georgia because of
Mhm.
that. They just changed the laws in Georgia for squatters because it was taking so long to get people out their house, and the people were just wreaking havoc and tearing up the people's stuff. I'm like, why you got to do all that? Like, you already living here for free. Why don't you just take care of it? But no, they don't
Yeah,
want to do
I
that.
mean, it's unfortunate that you have those people that do that, but at the same time, I mean, the law does not protect the homeowner, and that's what I
Right.
have a problem with.
Yo, absolutely. The laws does not protect the homeowners. And that is so crazy to me. Um, so let's talk about, you kind of mentioned this a little bit with the governor, but with newcomers, right? I'm sure over the years since 2009, there have been plenty of newcomers.
Oh
And
yeah.
so how do you integrate with the newcomers? Like, do you just like introduce yourself and then just strike up a conversation with them? Like, how are you able to just embrace the newcomers and make them
Well,
feel safe with you?
I just look like safe.
Uh,
So when you see, but what happens is when I see new people, my
mhm,
approach is, as they're summing me up, I'm summing them up as well, because I just don't automatically just walk up to people. I sit,
mhm,
I look, and I pay attention, because some people don't even want to be bothered. They don't want nothing that you get. They don't
mhm.
want you to come near them, and they will let you know. And with those people, I just leave them alone.
Mhm.
And I might ask from my car, I don't walk up and approach anybody. I may ask from my car, can I get you anything? Do you want food? Do you want clothes? Do you want anything? And if they don't want nothing, I keep moving
Mhm.
because I do not want to disrespect anybody's space.
Right.
But for the most part, everybody else is welcoming because they want whatever I have to offer.
But that's good. Because people's pride,
Oh yeah.
right, get in the way. And so with them I'm glad that there are nonprofits out there such as yourself that really doing God's work, right? Because if we don't take care of one another, then at some point when it's time for you to need to be taken care of, nobody
Oh
will
yeah.
take care of you. And so I know you weren't on when I kicked the show off, but I talked about looking at our blessings and talked about taking care of our body, mind, and spirits because um, anything can happen, and particularly during this administration, right? Any one of us could end up in a situation that wasn't on our bingo card. And so the way that blessings typically rain down on you is through your ability to be able to give to others.
Right.
And so it's important for us to really look at homelessness with compassion,
Oh, absolutely.
right? And look at it with understanding, and make sure that we are looking at it with care and kindness. Um, because some, like you said, some people are homeless through no fault of their own. you
Oh,
know, and the way that, these companies are, failing to pay people a livable wage, makes homelessness very realistic
mm-hmm.
and for a lot of families. And so, and a lot of families just don't have a lot of them don't have that support system. And some don't want to be in a support system situation. And
Oh,
so it kind of goes
exactly.
both ways. Say that again.
I said exactly. You're right. They don't want to be in that situation. So, I mean, it's just like we could lead you to the water, but we can't make you drink it.
Right.
So I can't want it more than you want it for yourself.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. And that's in any situation, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so, I know that, um, a lot of people, like, kinda stick together in that community, because they have to for protection of themselves
Exactly.
and their spaces. And so, you kinda mentioned earlier about how, when you pull up, they are protective over you as well to make sure that you're safe down there. And since you've been doing it for so long, but at this point, people are very familiar with you and know, what you're about and know that you have not come down there with ill intentions. And so, have you ever experienced a situation that made you feel unsafe? And if so, how did you handle it?
I don't think I ever felt uncomfortable or unsafe, period. I mean, and
Okay.
that's amazing because I've taken people down there and they felt uncomfortable and I can feel it. You can feel fear when
Mm-hmm.
somebody is fearful, just like a dog, he can tell when you're fearful and he's going to attack you. And I can tell when people are uncomfortable and fearful, and I try to, just kind of smooth it out.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, people are, first of all, people are people. So I
Right.
don't treat a homeless person any different than I would treat you.
Mm-hmm.
Other than I might tell you to give me your shoes. You know what I'm saying? So, but as it relates to the conversation, the care, the relationship, I laugh and joke with them. I pray with them. And, I try to be able to humanize their situation.
Mhm.
so that they don't feel like it's just an isolated, detachment from reality. Because at the end of the day, like I said, we're all just possibly a step away from being in that situation. Maybe not as bad, but we don't know what to experience, what our experience may be if that was to happen with us. But I
Right.
also wanted to add, um, I was saying earlier, this is something that you cannot do by yourself because it's
Mhm.
a lot of homeless people in the city of Chicago. So, I partner up with different entities, and my church is one of the entities that I partner up with because they have more resources. And,
Right.
we took 2 buses. Now, this is a part for me that if I was homeless, I don't know if I would allow somebody to take me from where I'm at to where they want me to go.
Okay.
And I had 2 bus loads full of people that we picked up. One bus went to Lower Wacker Drive and one was at Pacific Mission Garden. Those were our locations that I was going to pick them up at. And we had maybe about 75 people.
Mm.
Took them to our church, fed them. We got some barbers in the church to cut their hair. We
Mm.
had beauticians to do the women's hair. Gave them clothes, fed them, and everybody got a gift card. So this was like around in March of last year.
Mhm.
So what happens is for me, like when you get your hair done, you got your nails done, you got some clothes, you then took a bath, you feel good. So when you
Mhm.
feel good about yourself, your perspective is different.
Mhm.
If you dirty, your nails dirty, and you dingy, you stink, all of and most of them got a stench. When you have walking in that, it devalues how you think about yourself. I might think you the bomb.com, but it devalues how you might feel about yourself because you know that you're not presented the way that you want to be presented. Take a shower, get your hair done, get your nail, and you feel good. So those
Mhm.
are the things that that I couldn't do by myself. So I partnered with the church, and the church, we can cast a wider net opposed to one person just taking them something. But
Mhm.
when we get involved in the church, we got 2 busloads of people to be able to bring them to the resources, and
Mhm.
everybody was blessed.
Okay. Um, Question: Are you provided updates on the status of any of the people you help? I mean, I guess when you go back down there, you talk to them. I know when
Yeah,
I
they
was in
got my
Chicago.
phone number. They call me. Sometime I answer. I'll be off sometime. I don't answer my
Right.
phone all the time. So,
I know
because
that's
they'll
right.
call me crying. I got to talk them down as, suicide. I mean, it's all kind of stuff that you couldn't imagine that they're going through. And I couldn't even imagine it until they put me in their situation.
Mhm.
And, I'm like, God love you and I love you too. So, I mean, it's those conversations that I've had with people and just start praying because I don't know what else to do but to pray.
Mhm.
And for me to find out that she's still alive is that she'll call me again that next week.
Okay.
So, that's God's hand in it. I don't know, what it is, why when they get down like that, they want to call me. Maybe because they know that I'm going to pray.
Mhm.
And 9 times out of 10 is at an hour that I'm not going down there. So
Right.
maybe she just want a prayer. And for me to
Mhm.
tell her that I love her, I don't know. But I give her whatever I can give her.
Okay.
So, it's go ahead.
No, go ahead.
It's people that I have long relationships with. Now, since 2009 and it's 2025, some of those same people are still down there.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
They're still down there. And that's their residence.
Mm.
They
Mm.
just move around because we have street, like when Obama was president, they used to come and take all their stuff. I got to know the streets of sanitation people that take all their stuff and throw it in the garbage. I'm
Mm.
like, why y'all got to do that to them? So I
Right.
mean, it's a lot of issues. But I mean, they had to clean up the streets.
Right.
So you got to
Right.
take what's most important to you with you and put it.
Mm,
The Bible say, pick up your mat and carry it. So they had to carry their mat,
mm,
and that's
yeah.
their burden.
And that's their residence.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Um, Tasia says, yes, Dewana, be the light at the end of their tunnels.
Hey,
Um,
Tasia.
because we definitely need more lights at the end of tunnels,
Yeah, I mean,
particularly now going forward.
I believe we could get more done in that area as a group and a team effort opposed to, because it's a lot of people. I'm not the only person. Let me just put this disclaimer
Right.
right here. I am not the only person in the city of Chicago that has compassion from the homeless community that goes down there and feed them.
Right.
It's a lot of us.
Mm.
And at one point I'm like, well, maybe we could take days. You get Monday to, you know what I'm saying? So then that way we'll have the whole week covered.
We covered.
Because
Yeah.
what happens is, so if I go down there and you go down there the same day, you see food all on the ground.
Hmm.
They're not going to eat. And that's one of the things that I've learned. So don't give them nothing that you wouldn't eat, number one. Don't give them nothing out your refrigerator that you don't want, because they
Mm.
want what you want.
Right.
And when it's cold outside, don't bring them nothing cold.
Okay.
So take them some hot food, because you would want some hot soup or a hot
Hmm.
hamburger, something hot that you can eat, opposed to you taking me a cold sandwich, or you bringing me a can of soup that's cold that I don't
Hmm.
have any resources to warm it up, unless you bringing me some resources to warm it up. So those are the things that for me it's like, well, I wouldn't want that, so why would I give it to them?
Hmm. And so I know I've gone down a couple times with you before, and then Jackie and I went and helped a guy on your behalf when I was in Chicago. But what other type of agencies do you partner with? You mentioned
So
the church.
I have a friend, her name is, well, the name of her pantry is called Free Indeed.
Hmm.
Deed, Free Indeed. And I send a lot of people over there. Now, you could go in Wednesday and Thursdays throughout the week and get food. It's beautiful. I want to go over there and shop. It's like you're in a regular grocery store, you get a cart and you go and get whatever you want off the shelves.
Okay.
It'll tell you you could have 2 of these, 1 of those, 5 of these, 6 of those. You could just go and get everything and put it in your shopping cart. And then when you get to end, they help you bag your groceries, take it to your car, or put it in your little willing cart thing,
Hmm.
and you got free groceries. Now, next door to that, she has a a thrift store where you can get clothing.
Okay.
So you could go in there and get something for $1, get a pair of jeans, some shoes, some boots, all of those things right here in the community. And is accessible to those who can get on the public transportation, and it
Hmm.
may not be as accessible to those who can't get on public transportation.
Okay.
So I like to partner up with her. I send her people and we go back and forth. I go over there and, help her, do the intake and all of this. So, and then some of the people who she can't service, she might say, well, Dewana, this person needs this and that. So we kind of like interchange our
Okay.
resources.
All right. Time has gone by really quickly.
It's
You
over
have shared.
already. We just got started.
You have shared a lot of information. God bless you for being obedient to this calling on your life. Um, and so, one of the things before I let you go, for anybody who wants to financially support Emerald City Services to help you continue to spread goodness and hope in the world, how can people do that?
Well, you could go on my Facebook page, Emerald City Services, and it's a link on there. If you're interested in donation, we'll take 50 cents, we'll take $50, whatever your heart's desire. It all adds up and it all helps. Let me just say this one little piece too, because I forgot to say this. The other thing is, I don't know if anybody have ever experienced, they say, okay, well, donate to this cause and we're going to do X, Y, and Z. Those are one of the motivating factors that made me do Emerald City Services, because I wanted to do direct connect. I want to make sure that the people that I service got the resources that I had to give them. So I'm always involved in from my hand to your hand.
Mm-hmm.
So that means to me that I know for sure that I am helping you.
Got it. And that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I know like in some places they'll go through the stuff and pick out what they want and then give the rest to the people in need.
That's not good. That's not good.
You could be rest assured that any donation that you give will directly connect with the person in need.
Okay. All right. So again, Emerald City Services on Facebook. There's a link if you want to donate to the cause to help the homeless population in Chicago. They still trying to come up out of winter right now, so it's still a little chilly there.
Oh,
And so, people can always use new things. And as Duana said, make them feel better. So again, thank you for sharing this with us and giving us some inspiration and hopefully some motivation to go out and spread joy in the world and try to help somebody who's less fortunate than us.
Absolutely.
So do me a favor. I'm going to take you off the screen. I'm going to do my What the Hell segment. And then I'm going to wrap this thing up. So what the hell? It's so much going on in the world, but you know what today's What the Hell is all about me. Yes, what the hell was I thinking? I went to Maryland today to drop off some stuff, and my husband, of course, had a great idea. Let's take our bikes. Now, I've been out riding a few times since the weather broke, but I've only done like 6 miles, 6.4 miles, trying to, get myself going. And so today it was so nice outside, and we rode on the Indian Head Rail Trail, for those who are familiar with this area. And I did 10 miles today, 10.78 miles today. So what the hell was I thinking that I could go from 6.4 miles to 10.78? So I am fully anticipating a sore body tomorrow. But you know what they say, no pain, no gain, right? Well, that's cute in our younger years. At this age, I could do the game without the pain. However, I really was asking myself, what the hell? Like, how much further am I going to go before it's time to turn around? What the hell is wrong with me? Why am I out here riding 10.78 miles at 11.7 miles per hour? So that means I was getting it. And so, but you got to take care of your mind, your body, and your spirit. And so today I definitely made sure that I took care of my body. Thank you all for joining me. I'll see you in 2 weeks with another special guest of mine. Enjoy your evening. Thank you for joining and participating in Let's Get Into It. I want to thank my special guest for being brave enough to get into it. Without you, these conversations cannot happen. Remember, different viewpoints, respect, and love are the foundations of Let's Get Into It. If there's a topic you think I should discuss, drop me a recommendation. If you're interested in being my special guest, let me know, because we can and will get into it. Have a great day on purpose, and I look forward to your continued engagement and support as we get into it.